over and check that audio levels are good.
Yeah, once it actually shows us live.
Yeah, it takes, there's stream delay, but
Yeah.
the other thing I, of course, want to check. Should we go ahead and say something?
What's up?
Okay. I was just checking levels there to make sure it was capturing Discord audio as well. That I can tell. It's just the comparative levels I'm not sure of whether or not, the like PS2 noises are blowing us out or anything.
No. I had myself deafened and muted,
Uh-huh.
and the sound levels on both the game audio and on the Discord audio are good.
Okay.
They're
Hey, Vorton.
Cool.
what I'm hearing here.
Oh, yeah, I should do that too before we actually get rolling here. Right, now that we've tested all that,
Well,
I'm just going to
this game has fishing in it.
make the announcement over in Hunter's Discord, and I'm also going to real quick get my chat box up, because this being an old PS2 game means it's in 4:3 aspect ratio, which means I have a whole section of my screen I can use just to have a chat up.
Nice.
Just as soon as Chatty launches here, and I'll get it connected. All right. Now that we've gotten tech stuff out of the way, sorry about the delays there. This is my first time streaming from my location in, God, over 2.5 years now. So I had to kind of get everything reset up. So we wanted to make sure that tech specs were all right. And without further ado, we're good. Oh yeah, Vorton. That is just how the
PS2.
PS2 menu was. When you booted up a PS2 and didn't like have a disc in or anything, that's what you got. It had like a little browser so you could check your memory cards and stuff like that. All that kind of stuff.
Yep.
I'm gonna reposition chat real quick. So yeah, thank you all for joining us for a Saturday stream. I am gonna adjust that volume real quick because that's deafening me.
No, that's really loud.
Yeah. Is it still really loud?
Not loud for me. 1 second, let me deafen mute and listen on the stream.
Seems okay to me.
Yep, sorry about that. Still working out levels and everything, like I said. So yeah, we're getting started with a new game here. I don't know how long we're really gonna stream this, how many weeks we're gonna do. It's a pretty short game to begin with, as long as you kind of know what you're doing. And I definitely know what I'm doing in here. But this is River King, A Wonderful Journey. It's the PS2 entry in a fairly long-running series of fishing RPGs. We only ever got like 4 of them here in the US, but there's a whole ton of them over in Japan, like I think 10 or 12. Prior to this entry on the PS2, the most recent entry had been a original Game Boy title, so that's how much of a gap there was in between there. And yeah, so the general idea, these are loosely related to the Harvest Moon series, had a lot of the same teams work on them, but these are mostly focused around fishing. So this one, you have the option, you've got a whole family that you can play as, and each of the different characters has very minor differences, like not really anything significant. I can pull it up real quick, but you can kind of see. So like Bro here has 100 HP, starts at level 1, fishing technique 1, 0 experience, 100 money, cooking skill amateur. Father, meanwhile, has more HP and more money to start. Mother has the same HP but way more money and a mediocre cooking skill as opposed to amateur, so she's a better cook. And Sis over here starts with less HP, slightly more money, same cooking skill, so on and so forth. There are other minor differences, like for instance, I'm pretty sure the father starts knowing how to swim, which is just a thing you have to do as the brother, stuff like that. But for the most part, the game is pretty much the same no matter which character you choose. I'm actually probably going to start as the mother, just because it's a little bit easier for some of the stuff, just because she starts with a slightly higher cooking skill, and cooking skill is kind of a pain in the ass to level up through this. So we're going to play as the mother. Also, technically speaking, each character has a different end goal. So I'll explain HP in just a minute there, Borton. But yes, this is actually an RPG. Like, I mean, it really is. Like, earlier entries were much more RPG-like, where you actually had, like, random encounters against wild animals and stuff.
Bears.
Yeah, bears and bats and monkeys and all kinds of shit that would actually try and steal fish from you, and you had to fight them off. This game doesn't actually do that. By the time they got to this point in the series, they had kind of dropped that element. But you still use HP for certain things, which, like I said, I'll touch on later. But yeah, each character does also have a slightly different end goal for the game. The sister wants to catch the River King, which is this legendary fish, to give as a gift to her boyfriend. Yes, boyfriend. Don't ask questions. The brother is doing research for his summer homework, and also decides that he wants to try and help, his father with his goal. His father's lifelong goal is catching the River King, and the mother wants to become a better cook. Actually thinking on
catching the River King.
Catching a bunch of fish, cooking fish, that kind of stuff. Actually, I think we're going to do the bro rather than the mother, just because the bro is kind of the default story. It's the most straightforward one. Like I said, there are minor story differences, but not really huge. So we do name the family, and one thing that's interesting is on the same save file, you can actually play as all 4 characters. You just keep the same family name and name each individual character, and can have effectively 4 playthroughs of the game. Like I said, there's only really minor differences. The general gameplay is still kind of the same across them all.
I would go with nil bulk.
That's Goblin spelled backwards.
Even though it's in the movie called Troll. Moving on.
Dick rats.
So, we're going to play as Sound Goblin. Also, I apologize in advance. The music in this game is actually terrible.
Say.
Like, that's not emulation issues or anything. The game sounds like that. But anyways, yeah, the last time when I was actually streaming kind of on my own on my channel as Bograt, I actually went through both of the Game Boy River King games that we got over here. And had a lot of fun with them. They're pretty chill games. Yeah, no, the music is awful. It is just absolutely terrible.
You have to cut corners on your budget somewhere. Apparently.
Oh yeah, so basically the father found out that like the River King is back around, and now he's all upset because he's never been able to catch the River King. Meanwhile, the brother has not done any of his summer homework. It is important to note, previous entries in this series have literally involved things like, oh my god, my sister is dying from an illness, I need to go catch the River King for it to grant me a wish so I can save her, or, the jewel that holds the world together has shattered, and each of the 2, River King and Sea King, have eaten one half of that jewel. I need to go catch both of them to reunite the jewel to stop the world from shaking itself apart with cataclysmic earthquakes. Moving into I forgot to do my summer homework.
I've got some homework, and one of these days I'll catch that damn River King.
It's actually really funny how just wildly the storylines of these games vary from one entry to the next. If I recall correctly, the last entry we got over here, which was either DS or 3DS, I think it was regular DS, was River King Mystic Valley. And that one was, again, back to being a Save the World plotline.
I'm choosing to believe that door doesn't go anywhere, and that mat is just the parents' room.
You know, I would believe it. You are never able to actually go through that door in this game.
Yep.
Okay, this does answer the one question I have.
I'll make your dream come true. Okay, son, but my dream isn't arson. Aww. That's way less fun.
An excuse to get out of doing my summer homework. Like I was saying, the sound design other than the music is fine. And fortunately, there's actually not a lot of music in this game, per se. It mostly just goes with sort of natural ambient sounds, except for the few times you're in sort of cutscenes.
That would explain why they decided to cut the budget on one of the most apparent and clear parts of your game otherwise.
Well, it sounds like somebody lodged a harpoon into each speaker, but in a different part of each speaker, and both of them still worked after the damage. They decided to leave the speaker, this harpoon in the speaker as an aesthetic. And that's why it sounds like a 56K modem's death grip.
So here's what you actually have for most of the background of the game. It's just kind of the sounds of water, birds chirping, insects chirping, that kind of stuff.
Oh, thank God. Well,
so what you're saying is the developers...
I will say the footstep sounds are annoying as shit too, but...
Yeah. They're dirty.
For now, they're fine.
Annoying.
For now, they're fine. Wait until you've played this game for like 6 hours.
Also, this looks like the village where all the people who didn't take Tom Nook's offer get exiled to.
So, we've got some things around the village here. There's obviously people around you can talk to. Some people actually have little like quests for you to do, which are important because you get decent rewards out of it. So, like for instance, if we talk to this lady, anytime you see it go black, means it's going to be somebody giving you a quest.
As an aside, I will say the music is still better than the music in Kyoto Village and Enchanted Arms.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least it doesn't make me want to literally rip my ears off my head.
We could open MS Paint and say that anything in there was better than Enchanted Arms, including the music for MS Paint, which doesn't exist.
So I kind of skipped it there, but this lady wants us to catch her a rainbow trout.
Okay.
Most of the rest of the music for Enchanted Arms I wouldn't say was good, but at least it was serviceable and did not hurt. Like, literally hurt after a while.
So one thing of note about that, if you're playing this game and you do end up accidentally skipping dialogue or anything like that, you can go to the diary, and usually a lot of stuff will show up in there. Individual quests don't necessarily, unless they're super important, so like that quest isn't actually all that important. But, say for instance, I run over here and try and jump in the river. If you don't know how to swim, you can't go in the water.
But
Yellow shirt Waldo comes out of
Family
nowhere.
Guy that wandered into this anime game.
That's Waldo
now-
with a yellow shirt on.
If I go into my diary for the stream area, you can see I have a thing that says no swimming. I can't swim, I've got to find someone to teach me. That'll be a little while before we get there. The first thing is what you spend an awful lot of time doing in River King. So you can see here, this is our basic menu. We've got fish, which is the command you can use to pull out your fishing rod. You can also just do that with L1.
So you're saying
R1
it...
zooms in and out the camera, which lets you get a wider view, which is sometimes useful. We have equipment, which lets you see what we currently have equipped. So for our rod, right now we just have a bamboo pole. Basket, we've just got a small basket, it can hold 10 fish. The bob, we just have float A. And for bait, there are 3 different types. The bamboo pole we have can only use bait, it can't use lures or flies. We also don't have any lures or flies because they're expensive and we have to get them later. And for bait right now, we have technically 3 worms and 3 insects. Those are consumed as you catch fish. So we're going to throw a worm on there. This is our inventory. Special items go in here. There are some that are usable items. Most of them are just kind of passive things. Cooking. we will learn recipes as we play through the game, and as long as we have the ingredients for a given recipe, we can make it. So like right now, we just know fried kajika. One of the downsides to the father is he starts off not knowing any recipes at all because his wife just cooks for him. We have our basket where we can check what... so to explain, Vorton, when it says flies, it doesn't mean like actual like house flies. Flies themselves are actual fishing flies, which are actual like constructed, crafted things with hooks and stuff built into them.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, the basket is where you can kind of check what fish you currently have. So again, right now, we can only carry 10 fish at a time. This isn't a big deal because every area has a fish shop you can go to just sell off your excess fish.
That's convenient for once.
Records here. Once we catch fish, we'll be able to see what fish we've caught. We'll see an image of them. We will see the largest one we've caught in the main area there, and then also the top 10 of that fish we've caught in the bottom area.
Okay, I was going to ask if it keeps records of, like, every individual fish and the biggest size of that fish you caught, or just, like, the 10 biggest...
Oh, no, it is 10 per fish.
Oh, okay.
So, like, if we go catch, 12 rainbow trout, and I go to the rainbow trout entry on here, it will specifically show me the 10 biggest rainbow trout I've ever caught.
Okay.
This doesn't mean anything, but it does it.
Well, yeah, but...
And then this command here, which is incredibly
the most important command in the game.
The examine command, which lets you look around where you're standing.
There's nothing there.
So what you're saying is we're going to be using this command for most of the game.
Examine? Oh yeah, because what I'm going to do here is what you spend a significant amount of time in the game doing.
Examine, and it's a random chance of something happening.
Yes, because you will find insects and worms and free bait this way, essentially. We're not going to worry about it.
I'm assuming there are certain places that are better or worse for that?
Yes. So, as you may notice, I was specifically standing on this dark patch here. Dark patches of ground work well. Go back up kind of behind our house here. Patches of flowers work well. There is a certain sweet spot zone near water, but that's a colossal pain in the ass, so I usually don't bother with that. And then up this way a little bit, I believe. Or no, I think it's down from our house, actually.
So I arrived a little late. Is this a fan sub, or was this actually?
Oh no, this is official release.
Oh, okay.
There have been, to my knowledge, 4 River King games that actually got official US release. The first 2 on the original Game Boy, this one on PS2, and the DS / it's either DS or 3DS. I'm pretty sure it's regular DS. I'm too lazy to get up and walk across my room to check. But yes, I do own at least 1 copy of every instance of this game. It's over here by like boulders, and also there's some logs a little further up. Those are also good places. Yeah, up here by the logs. Those are also places that have a higher possibility of finding these things.
Mystic Valley was a regular DS game.
That's what I thought, remembering. I was pretty sure it wasn't 3DS, because...
you might be mistaking it for the 3DS release that Legend of the River King 2 got on the Virtual Console.
No, that I knew of. That was a Virtual Console release. But yeah, I do own at least 1 copy of basically every instance of this game that was released in the US. So anyways, the other thing that the lady who asked us to get a rainbow trout told us was that they can usually be found between the billboard for the fishing competition and the bridge to the north. So most of the time when you get a quest asking you to catch a specific type of fish, they will give you some rough idea of where to catch it. Now that's not the only place those particular fish will show up. They do show up in other places as well, but it's usually a good idea to kind of go there. So here's the billboard for the fishing tournament. This will come up later. And then the bridge is off to the north. If you look real closely, you'll sometimes see these little blue slivers in the water. Those are fish. So when we want to fish, we pull out our fishing rod, we cast our line into the water, and then we have patience.
And then we get into an RPG battle of fish.
Kind of. So, HP was
Action
questioned
RPG.
about before. One of the things that HP is used for is not actually the pure act of fishing. Because if you'll notice, we have 100 HP as the brother. If I open the menu now, we still have 100 HP. However, if we cast our line and fail to catch a fish, if the fish gets away, pulls the hook loose, too much tension on the line, whatever, then we actually lose HP.
So they're not health points, they're hook points.
Kind of. The other thing that HP is actually used for is swimming. Once we gain the ability to swim, we will actually lose HP as we swim. It is an incredibly minor loss, though. You can cover, so assuming like if I'm standing still here, this is a single screen, you can cover roughly 1.5 to 2 screens for a single point of HP.
Ah.
And
Nice.
most areas are not long enough to really make that a challenge, even on the sister who has the least HP out of anyone, and that would be with 80 HP. You can still get pretty much anywhere you need to go. Now, one thing, it won't let you quick bring out the rod if you do not have all the stuff equipped, so bait and everything. There is a quick shortcut for putting bait back on the rod, too. Not you, small fry. Fuck off.
Poor small fry.
When you actually have the rod out, if you've caught a fish and they've taken your bait, and so you need to rebait, you just press square and it'll put back on a bait of the same type you just used up until you run out of that type of bait, essentially.
Drifting down the current of that rock, then into actual water.
Oh, don't want small fish. So you will notice that the fish do have different sizes. There are large fish, there are medium fish, and there are small fish. I happen to know that rainbow trout tend to be either medium or large, so since I'm specifically fishing for a rainbow trout, I'm trying to do my best not to actually catch small fish here. That being said, not always the easiest thing to do. Sometimes they just kind of get on the hook and there's nothing you can do about it. The other thing being, different fish prefer different bait types. Technically speaking, I should actually probably swish. Yep, there he goes. I was distracted, so I let the hook get away.
And took 8 damage.
Yep. That actually very rarely happens. This game is actually pretty easy for the most part. But yeah, I should actually be using insects if I'm trying to catch rainbow trout, because they do prefer those to worms. Different fish do prefer different baits and lures and flies and whatnot. I know most of them off the top of my head, but not all of them. Okay, I'm going to move upstream a little bit because the one that I was trying to track has vanished, so we're going to keep a look around. There we go, there's some good ones. You do also have some level of control over the line as you cast it. You can use the thumbstick to kind of shift where it's going. So, like, for instance, if I wanted to cast it upwards, I can hold up as I go, and you kind of see it sort of angles itself there, rather than just going straight out. You can get some pretty minute control doing this. Anyway, to explain what I'm saying about this being pretty easy, is basically for that entire period, I was just holding down X. Occasionally, fish will kind of pull back, pull away, etc., etc. When that happens, you kind of just, I'll kind of demonstrate it playing a little bit better in real time as it's happening. But basically, you just sort of release X when they start pulling away, and most of the time, if they're not pulling super hard, you can kind of just release X for a second and push back on it, and you'll yank them back. Rainbow trout are just not biting at the second, so we're going to we'll give these guys a try.
Next to this derpy-looking fisher. Who may be a scarecrow.
No, He's a real dude. Just wearing a hat. It took me a long time to parse that that hat was not, in fact, some sort of fucked up eyeball.
He's wearing his fish hat to show solidarity with the fish union.
Come on, eat the grasshopper.
Ah, the Sisterhood of Fishermen.
No, not digging the grasshoppers? Alright, we'll try with a worm then. So that's what a lot of this game kind of comes to, is just patience and...
Yep. Like, despite it being an RPG, it is a fishing game first and foremost. If you like fishing games, cool. It's a nice little fishing game. If you're not here for fishing, then
I don't know what to tell
Burger
you.
King is not the game.
Yeah.
Maybe you should not have picked up the game with the very obvious fishing connotations on it.
I just wanted to rule the river. I didn't want to catch a fish.
The hidden fifth option of the Grandmaster Kung Fu monk who lives on the hill. The sworn vengeance on the River King. Not for any good reason, but just like River King's kind of a bad neighbor.
You want this worm?
Except for it's trash.
You want this worm? Yeah, you want this worm. Apparently not
Yeah,
bad
take
enough
that
to chase
worm,
it,
you
though.
dirty boy.
Okay, well, I'm getting annoyed trying to catch this rainbow trout, so we're just gonna move on.
Yep.
So when the boy here was talking with his father, he mentioned, like, oh, there's a bridge up north I can cross to get to the other side of the river. For reasons not really specified.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go try and do that now.
It looks like they're trying to block, but they aren't.
Nope, they're just standing in the middle.
I mean, I can absolutely just cross this river with no problem, but this is a very important person to talk to.
Oh,
Our rival.
There is supposed to be a whole thing there. Yeah, give me a second. I'm actually going to go ahead and restart the game after clearing the memory card, because I think it's pulling up my save information from the test save.
Ah.
Because there's supposed to be a whole challenge you have to do with her.
She was our rival, and we didn't even know it. Dad, I've got a rival. My son has a rival. I'm so proud. And meanwhile, the mom and the sister are just like, what are you two on about? What are the two of you? Our son has a rival. Destroy them.
crush your enemies.
Is that really the advice you want to give our son? You're right. I should give it to our daughter, too. Crush your rival here. I don't have a rival.
Make sure that it's not.
Yep.
Okay. Now there's no data in there.
No data.
Either that or it was doing the annoying thing. So there's a slight bug in this game with certain, they're called errands, the little side quests, where certain ones of them will, like, set triggers wrongly. So it's entirely possible that by taking the errand from that one lady to go get her a rainbow trout, it set the trigger as if we had already beaten the rival challenge. Listen, this game is not well coded.
You don't say.
On the bright side, we can just skip through all of this real quick.
Glad we're back to this soundtrack.
Yeah, I'm gonna just skip the dialogue as fast as I can to get us through it ASAP.
Yeah. So, Vorden, if you do get back into Vocaloid again, try to do something with this soundtrack.
Yeah.
Oh, why?
I think he means listening to Vocaloid music, not making, but if it's making, more power to you.
Yeah.
I have all the musical talent of a dead animal, so...
Guys, it's terrible. A herd of bison are trying to violently strike down a Yamaha keyboard.
So as a
that's
note,
terrible.
in addition to River King, I did actually set up and get running a decent number of other PS2 games that are somewhat more obscure and lesser known, but I do like them. So those are other options we might go with at other points. Unfortunately, one of them has too many graphical issues. Otherwise, it would definitely have topped the list. It would have actually even taken over for this one, and that is Musashi Samurai Legend, the absolutely batshit insane follow-up to Brave Fencer Musashi on the PS1. That for some reason involves samurai sword fights on motorcycles.
Sounds legit.
That is the purest form of combat that there is.
But yeah, I've got a few other things. Got to tweak with them a little bit more to make sure tech can work on them. One of which I mentioned, is probably one of the favorite games, both Krampus and I, called Robot Alchemic Drive. It is an absolutely awful and amazing robot combat game. Made by the same guys that make the Earth Defense Force games, so it's got that same kind of campy B-movie shit going on.
It is a budget title where they made a fun robot game with interesting controls, and then had like $6.20 for all of the voice acting work in the game. And by God, they got their $6.20 worth.
Also, you sure had a choice word there for the controls. Interesting is not what I would have gone with, but...
Interesting in the Chinese curse. I actually like the controls of Robot Alchemic Drive.
They are frustrating and clunky, but once you get used to them, they actually feel good. Here we go.
Yeah.
This is what's supposed to happen when you approach the bridge. We meet our rival, the junior college student, Naoko.
Just Bratz doll. Also, from evidence that we've seen in this game, sound is not very sound at all.
Who is looking for a rival to challenge her and show off their fishing prowess. That thing, very common to junior college girls.
So as a slightly related aside, I forgot exactly how bad some early attempts at adapting like anime to 3D were.
You know, you say that. I don't actually find that bad, specifically because this is very much the Harvest Moon style. It's done by the same art team that did all the Bokujo Monogatari games.
It's still an extreme version of Chibi that didn't seem like it translated well enough.
Like, I get that, and I do agree, but, like, again, my thing on it is that this actually has pretty much the same style as the Harvest Moon games of the era, so this looks almost the same as Save the Homeland, and I really like the Harvest Moon games, so it's fine to me.
Yeah. It's not a deal. Animation-wise, it's not a deal breaker per se. It's just that it feels like they've gotten better at it, and B, you could do better with enough practice and experience, but that's not something you should expect from this era per se.
I mean, they absolutely have gotten better at it. Like Mystic Valley, the DS game, goes for the same kind of thing where it tries to translate anime designs into 3D characters, but it definitely looks better. But it's like for the era, I mean, this looks
I
like
don't
the era
actually
looks when they do the chibi. So.
Yeah, I don't actually blame the designers per se, because it's really stuff that had to be worked out over time. It's not like the voice acting in English dubs to video games, which was. I
mean, the other thing to keep in mind is this is also the first 3D River King game. They had a PS1 entry in Japan, but that one was actually still sprites, 2D sprites. This was the first time they had ever done one of these in 3D. So that's the other thing to consider too, is it was pretty much new ground for them, especially because I'm pretty sure this was developed before Harvest Moon Save the Homeland. I think this may have actually been the first 3D game this team ever did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the design of it doesn't look that bad, except for Sound's unfortunate knee condition, where he was born without them.
Oh, nobody has knees. Everybody's legs are tubes.
Yeah, it's a degenerative disease in this whole area.
Yeah, it's a side effect of the elephantitis of the head.
Yep.
Okay, so right now what we're trying to do, the challenge is to see who can catch the biggest Ayu. And by biggest, I mean hers will always be 8 inches, so as long as we get something 8 inches or larger, we're fine.
So we win if we tie?
Yes. Because we have shown that our skills are at least a match for hers.
Yeah, she wants a rival, not necessarily someone who's superior to her.
She's fine with her rival being superior to her, but the rival needs to at least match her skill.
Yeah, and if the rival's below you, you're not really a rival.
Now, mind you, the way that this game works with all these quests is, technically speaking, if I catch an IU that's less than 8 inches, I can still go over and talk to her and be like, look, I caught an IU, and it'll just be like, oh, but mine's 8 inches, how big is yours? And it'll give kind of a womp womp and just send me back to go
Womp
do
womp.
it again.
Failed to catch that rock.
Yeah.
This kind of thing does become a pain in the ass slightly later on, not too much further than this, wherein there is a wood spirit who prefers a particular type of fish, but will not accept one of those fish as an offering that is 12 inches or smaller, and the average size for that fish is 10 inches.
Ah,
So you actually do have to catch a fairly large one to actually
an
appease him,
exceptional fish.
and he is definitely a progress limiter.
Mm.
You need to appease him in order to move a boulder out of the way to get to the next area, which is just a pain in the ass. Fine, I'll catch you, whatever you are. Another Aburahara. So what I was saying earlier about the actual like fish catching kind of progress here, you might have seen it with the last fish I did, where sometimes, I'll be dragging it towards me, it'll start going the other way. As soon as it starts turning, if you let go of the X button, you can kind of get away with it, like I said. Just briefly let go, and then immediately push back on it, and it'll start coming back towards you. You usually have to do this twice, and then you're good again. So again, it's not an exceptionally hard game by any means. There we go. That should be an IU. That is not an IU. Not sure what that one is.
It looks like a fish.
Thank
Surprise!
you.
It's a fish.
Ah, Haze.
Haze.
That's right there. We just got to level up. So our HP increased. As you can see, we went up to 102 max HP rather than 100. You can also see there we have fishing technique. Fishing technique will increase as you level up. Also, there's a hidden skill of swimming technique. Once you know how to swim, as you level up, your swimming technique will get better, which further reduces the HP cost of swimming, which is ridiculous because swimming already basically costs nothing.
Make that easy thing easier.
Well, make that inconsequential cost even more inconsequential.
Game is just being a real piece of shit today about giving me the fish I need.
It's right there. Just reach in and grab it.
So fish will react and kind of run away if you drop your lure or your bob too close to them. So that's why it can kind of sometimes be a little bit of a challenge to kind of get it in the right spot, so that it's near enough that they will react to it as it passes by them, but far enough that you won't scare them off.
River trout.
Yep. So I'm going to hang on to that river trout because that other quest will still be there. And you don't actually have to catch a new fish for a lot of the quests if you already
You just
have
have
the
to
fish
have
you...
it.
Yeah, if you already have the fish you need, a lot of times it'll just be like, oh yeah, here you go.
I need a river trout, and you're like, I have one in my pack.
So you can become the ultimate fisherman by going to the fish market and buying the fish that everyone wants. I mean, not
there's
in this
technically
game.
no fish market in this game. Also, you don't actually get experience for doing errands, as far as I'm aware. So no, you cannot become the ultimate fisherman by doing that. That, I think, is an IU.
We'll figure it out in a second.
Yes, and that's a big one, too.
There we go.
10-incher, Jesus.
We can wave our big fish in our face.
Yep. So over here is the cooking competition. We will not see that for quite a while. It's actually almost impossible to win that without a cooking rating of at least decent. And as you may recall, we started at amateur, which is the lowest rating.
I take it the mother starts higher.
Yes, she starts at mediocre, which is the second lowest rating. Basically saves you like 16 points of cooking experience.
I assume she also starts off knowing a few more recipes.
She knows 3, I believe.
Oh.
Also, please note, they did not actually give Naoko a walking animation. Watch this. Watch this as she leaves.
1/3 of her true power.
This is legitimately, to me, one of the funniest things in the game.
Whee!
Also, she's still just standing there.
Well, of course she is.
Well, she's obviously got inbuilt Heelys.
So we also just failed to make that salt-grilled Ayu. She gave us the recipe for it as the reward for beating her.
Oh, okay.
It does use up your fish, even if you fail at the recipe.
You get cooking XP either way.
I believe so.
Cooking is a hidden enough stat that you can't tell one way or the other.
Yeah, you don't actually get to see. No, looking at my notes, you actually only get skill points from successfully cooking a dish.
Ah.
What the hell else was the other one we had?
Fried
Kajika.
Kajika.
Which I assume takes a Kajika.
And frying.
Yes. That's a fish we can't actually catch yet. Kajika aren't in the stream area. So the other thing you can notice is by going to the diary here, the game is essentially divided into 5 distinct areas: the stream, the mountain, the field, the rapids, and the swamp. You sort of progress through those areas as you play through the game, and right now we're just running back down. We're going to go talk to the lady, get the rainbow trout quest, and finish it. Basically immediately. Name again. My name is Sound. Oh, Sound. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I need a river trout right away. That's the text box I skipped last time.
Yeah.
Tells you they're between the billboard and the bridge. We already got one.
Says still we got one.
So we just talk to her immediately.
Yep.
She gives us the treasure map. Treasure map says, go 30 paces east from the G zone, north 10 and west 5. So the Jizo statue over here is the save point of the game, which, while I'm at it, I'm just going to go ahead and drop a save real quick.
Okay.
So technically, you can sit here, and you can try to carefully measure out where everything goes. Or you could just know it's over here under this tree.
Can you find this before she tells you about it?
No. Until you have the treasure map, there's nothing there.
You found a dead body. The treasure map rainbow trout serial killer has struck again.
So the next thing we're going to do here... so there's a few different shops that'll show up in basically all the areas. So this one here that has like the coolers out front. This is the fish store. This is where you go to turn in fish you've caught for money.
To man.
I assume we can spend it on things.
Yes. So the other common things that you'll see in most areas, almost every area will have a Jizo statue. There will be one of these shops in most areas, which is the tackle shop, where you can buy new rods, new floats, new lures, flies, etc. You can also buy bait here, but most of these baits can be gotten for free just by examining for a while, so that's a huge waste of money.
Yeah.
And almost most importantly, they have the tools here, which actually increase your chances of finding those baits.
Ah.
So that's actually what the first thing we're saving up for is to get these, because in the long run of the game, these save us a ton of money. After that, the next thing you save on is save up for is actually getting up to a rod that can use flies, because flies are kind of the best of both worlds. They have the easiness of catching that bait does, but are not expended like bait is. So lures are not expended, but work a little differently for actually catching fish. They're a little bit more difficult, a little bit more complicated. Flies are sort of the best of both worlds. In the meantime, we're actually kind of low on bait, so we're gonna... There is actually a different tone that plays when you find any sort of bait item. We're actually going to try going over here. And it's pretty much entirely RNG. There's nothing really... we'll deal with that later. So one of the other things about this game that's actually really nice is, like, music aside, the sound design is actually really solid in this game, to the point where, like, I can like, once I actually spot a fish, in the river, and, get my line out, I can close my eyes and still catch the fish. Like, there's actual sound that kind of reflects to pretty much all the stuff that happens in the process of fishing.
So good sound cues, you mean?
Yeah. Which makes life kind of a lot easier in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It means, like, for instance, back when I was streaming the Game Boy games, which had much the same thing, had really good sound design on them. I could actually be focusing on other things and like reading stuff and doing whatnot as I was grinding off stream for certain things, and not have to worry about it. So now that we've crossed the bridge, the next thing we're going to go is we're going to come up here. I believe it's this one. Yes. So this is Old Smarty's house. Now it is important to note, you cannot actually do this if you do not have the no swimming entry in your diary. If you have not actually tried to step into the river and gotten that dude telling you, hey, you can't go swimming, you can't go in the river if you don't know how to swim, you won't actually get to be able to do this. So here's Old Smarty.
Old Smarty.
He's the sage. He knows how to swim and can teach you how to swim. That's all it takes to swim. You just put your arms out and spin, spin, spin.
Remember to let yourself get carried away by the water.
This is Old Smarty's granddaughter, Kaio. She's adorable, and if you don't think so, you don't have a soul. Fuck off.
I was gonna say, she's like weaponized adorable.
She's also tired of Smarty's shit.
Can we just take her home?
The police generally frown upon you taking home random little girls.
Free child!
It's fine. We caught her fishing.
Normally, these are quite expensive.
How that works. CPS.
This is quite a bargain.
So our next
protect her.
actual major milestone is up here. So we had to defeat that rival challenge in order to be able to cross the bridge, or glitch it. Now we come up here, and there's a big-ass boulder in the way.
Look, when this guy was born, his parents just knew he was gonna be this giant, strapping man. They decided, okay, your name is Man.
So there's a spirit that lives in that boulder, and we don't want to get rid of the boulder because it'll upset the spirit. So we have to come to Old Smarty and find out, like, hey, what do we got to do to get that spirit to get rid of that boulder? So we have to make an offering to the wood spirit. So the wood spirit likes the fish called yamame. Yamame, as I recall, are a type of Japanese salmon.
What kind of offering should I make? 50 bucks. I don't have 50 bucks. Oh, that's a problem.
Give him a reach around.
So Yamame live up here by the waterfall. But first, we have something else important to do.
What?
Don't ask questions.
I feel like I have to.
Just accept it and move on. So right there, that little ding noise means we actually found something. We are actually getting worms here, which is nice. Okay, so that last message there, again, I'm used to just going through this really quick, but there was a message letting us know we cannot fit any more worms in our bait box. You can only hold 9 of a given type of bait. So what we're actually doing now is we're going to go around to the other side of the river just because it's closer to where the offering box is. and you can still get up to that section on this side of the river. And then we're going to start trying to catch a Yamame.
Okay,
Yamame
so
is so fat.
So this is not a Yamame. This is an Izaya, I think.
And yes, Vorton, we do not have Atsuma's magical ability to instantly know a person at a glance.
Well, his ability to know people at a glance and his ability to learn.
Okay, no,
things,
cherry
'cause
salmon.
You're not wrong in that it was a swimming explanation that Atsuma was able to get. I believe his actual swimming explanation was you move your hands in front of you.
No, the explanation was literally saying move towards the shore and push the A button. Because Atsuma is aware of the fourth wall.
Yes, just like how Atsu learned how to use ladders.
Yep.
So I will note at this juncture, since tech test stuff was part of this, we have dropped 0 frames so far, which is nice. Been going for almost an hour, 0 frame loss, which is
Very
good.
nice.
My connection has held stable, surprisingly.
So yes, Yamame A is a type of salmon, and B is actually kind of hard to Google.
I would imagine so.
For the dumbest of reasons.
Huh.
The much more popular and relevant search result is a Toho character,
Did you
Followed
include
by-
fish in
Fair
your
enough.
search criteria?
followed by a Naruto character. I
Yeah.
did afterward.
Yeah,
but,
I would imagine you narrow it down by putting Yamame fish,
you come up with
which may not eliminate the Toho character, depending on what they're a spirit of.
no. It eliminates the Toho character. She's an ogre spider.
Fair enough. You can never be sure with Toho characters. I'm fairly certain there's at least one of them that is in some way related to fish.
There's at least one mermaid, so yes.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know specific Toho characters. I know Toho in general. I also know there is the complete and utter fake-out Toho character.
Hmm.
That one god, is it Suwako, who basically has nothing to actually do with frogs. She just really likes them, and so she dresses up like a frog.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you knew generally about Toho, and you saw that character, you'd think like, oh, it must be like a frog spirit or a frog deity or something. It's like, no, she just thinks frogs are cute.
Yeah, I think she's a storm deity of some sort.
Something like that. She has literally nothing to do with frogs, but dresses up like one because she thinks they're cute.
Hey, don't question JDs. They do what they want.
Ah, Q Ranger. Yes, Krampus and I, as you may have picked up from our Tuesday Chroma Squad streams, Krampus and I, at the very least, are huge Super Sentai and, in general, Tokusatsu nerds.
Q Ranger especially is a pretty good Sentai series.
Oh god. Hold on,
Oh.
this I've got to pull up.
It's a squirrel.
Yes, so this is a quiz battle.
Ah. Right. Yeah, that's a good question.
How well do you, a man playing a fishing game, know your squirrels?
Okay, so those are the equivalent of random battles in this game.
So, random quizzes.
Random
Yes.
squirrel quiz.
Yes. If you answer correctly, sometimes they'll give you some bait. If you answer incorrectly, they will sometimes steal a fish. But it is not always for either side of that. You do not always get bait for answering correctly. They do not always steal a fish for you answering wrong. I had legitimately forgotten that happened in this game.
Accosted by random squirrels.
A super secret.
It's not just squirrels. There's a whole bunch of different ones. Guinea pig, regular squirrel, flying squirrel are for the stream. The mountain area has a cat, a deer, and a rabbit. The field has a few of them. It has a fox, a sheep, a kappa, and a tanuki. Or sorry, that one is specifically a raccoon dog because the rapids has an actual tanuki, a cow, and a dog. And then the swamp has a monkey, a turtle, a boar, a horse, and the secret final area, the underground lake, has a bear, a tsuchinoko, and a wolf.
Right. So to make this even odder, Suwaka was apparently a god of mountains.
Yeah, all that.
I mean, you say to make this even odder, it's Toho. Nothing surprises me.
Granted. It's just I don't think frogs when I think mountains.
Speaking of which, I will have to eventually get around on stream to doing the strategy RPG for Toho, because now all 4 of them have a translation patch out.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
It's not a bad one. Even though I'm again not really that into Toho, have at least considered doing the Metroidvania, the recent one, Lunar Nights or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. I think our group isn't really into the main Toho games, except for maybe Vince. I don't know.
No, except for like one that's completely out there.
Like we're all big
Vince,
into
as far as I'm
sci-fi.
aware, Vince, as far as I'm aware, is mostly just into the music.
The fighting games I like.
Fair enough.
The fighting games I like, and Phantasmagoria Flower View, but that one is a weird twin screen versus game.
Yeah. I would very much do the Metroidvania and the Pokemon Snap games. Because those totally exist.
The strategy game, because the strategy game is Super Robot Wars, but with Toho characters rather than robots, and they actually have a Danmaku mechanic.
Yeah. Among the other PS2 games that I've gotten set up and tested on here, as long as we're talking strategy RPGs, is one of those that I would maybe consider doing on stream. I would definitely want to play through it again myself before I did that, though, just to kind of get back into it, because it's very odd and exceedingly difficult. Soul Nomad and the World Eaters.
Yeah, Soul Nomad.
Which is...
a game nobody remembers from Nippon Ichi Software.
Yeah, it's basically pretty much the
real
least
good.
known Nippon Ichi SRPG.
It's real good, because it's one of the few games I've seen that has a completely different alternate story route on the PS2.
Oh yeah, no. Demon Story is A, completely different, and B, horrific. But the other thing about it is that it was the last Nippon Ichi game for the PS2 as well. Because the next game they made, I want to say, was Disgaea 3, which was a PS3 game. Here we go. I believe this is a Yamame. This is either a Yamame or a cherry salmon.
Survey says.
And Awana. Oh, okay. I guess Awana have those markings too.
Mm.
I'm not expecting that. Most of the...
I've seen that Disney film.
No. You're thinking Ringo. That's the one with the iguana in it.
Oh, that wasn't a Disney film, though.
No, it wasn't.
I did see Ringo.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Didn't say it was good.
I watched the Banana
second worst
Splits
thing
movie.
Johnny Depp been in.
I watched the Banana Splits movie earlier this week, and I still feel sorry for you. That, by the way, was atrocious.
I figured it would be.
I say this as someone who believes that the Five Nights at Freddy's series may be some of the dumbest media ever created. It was a bad version of Five Nights at Freddy's. The practical effects were good, though.
Yeah. Like everything else
There
about
we
that movie
go.
is garbage. But
Oh, that's a big boy.
oh,
Like I said, the average size on those things is like 10 inches, and I just pulled a 15-incher.
Trying real hard.
Alright. So, we offer a fish to the wood spirit here.
I'll admit, I don't know what I was expecting. It wasn't that.
Your food.
And no, that's
Your food, nephew, nephew.
that is very much a thing.
Please fuck up that boulder. Your food, nephew, nephew.
Do we have to give the wood spirit job to a reject Pokemon?
Man, that's a reject Digimon. And that's saying something.
Alright, so now that boulder is clear, and we can actually advance on to the next area. But before we do that, do I want to wrap stuff up here, or do I want to... trying to think. There are a couple more things we could do here, but we do have to come back here anyways. Yeah, we'll just set this one up at least. So with that boulder having been cleared, immediately a bottle came rocketing down this river, apparently.
It was trapped inside the boulder.
There's a message inside.
Ah, they're sending out an SOS.
Message in the bottom.
This guy automatically assumed that somebody writing a recipe and putting it in a bottle was A, a woman, B, not already married, and C, would make a great wife.
That's a lot of logical
Hicks
leaps.
Yeah, it's a bunch of Hicks living in the field, and also this guy.
Oops. Didn't mean to cast that on.
I mean, he's probably 100% correct. Because game logic.
So he wants us to go find whoever put that recipe in that bottle. All he knows is that they're upstream somewhere.
Mm.
We're going to head on through here.
He's probably 100% correct, but there's some weird swerve.
To the mountain. And coincidentally, the first person we run into on the mountain. That seems unlikely.
Could I see it for a second? Takes it, immediately chucks it back in the river. Stop getting in the way of my progress!
She actually has a really funny reason for doing that. You know, you could just like offer a free cooking class.
No.
Much more efficient to hurl bottles into the river and hope that somebody finds it. I would also like to point out, by the way, that the wood spirit is only the second weirdest thing we're going to see today.
Please tell me she kicks him off the cliff. It's just such a perfect angle for that.
I'm looking for a fisherman, not the guy who screams phony on Family Guy. Pushes into the river. Ironically, he cannot swim despite warning us about swimming. Immediately drowns.
Well, that was easy.
Yep.
You've known each other all of 3 minutes. I'm sure this marriage will last.
Literally, the first thing he said to you was, "Cook for me as my wife." Better go big Awana recipe.
Yep.
Right. So now to catch a big Awana and some butter.
I mean, we have 2 Iwana.
Right. So now to catch some butter.
Pretty sure you... Oh, no. It actually requires specifically big Iwana. What else do we have in our basket now? A cherry salmon and a rainbow trout. I'm gonna go sell off some fish and see if we can't at least afford one of the bait finder tools.
Then to go fishing in a dairy.
Now that the boulder's cleared, by the way, Naoko has moved on. She is over on the mountain map now, in the area where we will run into her there.
I was about to say she's waiting the next map to be our rival again.
Yep.
That charge backstep takes a while to recover on cooldown.
Let's see. I think I needed like 150. Oh, I can actually afford one of any of the tools. So the big thing is the shovel only helps you find worms. The insect net actually helps you find insects and frogs. Magnifying glass helps you find maggots and shrimp. So these two
Oh.
are a little bit more expensive, but the reason why is because they find 2 things rather than just one. For right now, we're going to get the insect net because that's a little bit more useful. And yeah, now if you see, I come in here to items and it's just sitting there.
It is effectively a passive buff.
Yep. Taking a moment to stock back up on bait. Theoretically. You will also see there that HP doesn't grow terribly great. We're already level 4, and we've gone up a grand total of like 6 HP,
Yeah, it appears to be like
Yeah.
2 points a level.
roughly.
Yeah. It's also not the most needed stat in the world, so
No.
it's not like fish are suddenly hitting for 50 damage.
There he is.
Oh, that is the thing.
The harvest spring.
I would like to call an SCP team here immediately. That thing is going to eat a child.
No, but it'll bring us good luck.
Yeah, and all we have to do is feed it an offering of man flesh.
Ah, you think I would eat a child, but you are wrong. I already have.
Couldn't eat a whole child.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
No, he's only giving you something.
Paperclip quest. What he has given us is a paperclip quest.
Complete this quest and you can get your own child.
I do also love that due to the upscaling, we can now very clearly see the grid system that the map makers used.
That's partially due to the upscaling, partially due to just the way that my graphics settings are set.
Okay.
I could have it smoother, but it would make other things look worse, so...
That's fine. I'm busting the game's chops on minor stuff. It does not matter in the grand scheme of things, and plus, it is a PS2 game.
Yeah.
PS2 is...
So you can see the
Still
entirety of swimming out to that little sandbar and back. I literally didn't use a single HP.
Yeah.
You have to actually swim a significant distance to actually lose HP.
Mm.
Let's see.
But yeah, this is easily well within the low poly era.
Now I think, theoretically, should be able to go talk to Yoko now. So again, in general, if you're just kind of playing this game blind, you end up just sort of trying to talk to a lot of people, find out what's going on. You know, people do have tips and information and stuff. Sometimes they'll tell you info about like where certain fish can be found, things like that. And then, as we saw, every once in a while you'll run into somebody who gives you an errand of some sort. I, you know, kind of having played this game a half dozen times, basically kind of know... Still don't want to give me your quest, huh? Alright, well, we'll worry about that later then. There's a quest involving her. I don't think... No, wait, I have to do the next thing in the mountain first, actually. That's right. So for the most part, you can kind of just follow the paths, and they will lead you to sort of where people are in areas. At the very least, they'll lead you to where, like, buildings are at. There's also a useless map here. So here's the next part of the cooking contest, which we can't do because we have to do them in order. And again, like I said, you sort of have to be much better at cooking than we presently are in order to do that. What I will probably do is just grind cooking off stream to get those ranks up. Just, you know, catch a bunch of IU or whatever. We can actually catch Kajika here. They are a mountain fish, so we could get them for that. But basically just catch like a bunch of IU and stuff and just grind out cooking.
Ooh, we catch a boat. We caught a boat.
Yes, other comments people make will be about the random encounter quiz battles you can find in the area. So like the other guy on the last area was talking about seeing a flying squirrel, but it ran off. That lady's talking about, oh, I saw a cat. There's Naoko. I am purposely avoiding her for the moment. Yeah, we'll just go ahead with this.
I do have to admit, I do kind of like the rival music. It's a fairly simple little ditty, but it does still convey, like, more emotion than one person having a violent spasm on a Casio.
One of your fishing buddies? I guess. I do love, no matter which character you're playing, they're incredibly exasperated by Naoko's bullshit.
great brown trout.
The village is being harassed by a fish.
I mean, it's a fishing village, so yes.
We tried to chase it away, but then it got a gun, and then things got complicated. Sound, back away from the camera.
Okay, so here's the thing about that. The great brown trout is actually a pain in the ass to catch with the stuff we have now. So we're gonna just go catch some other fish to get up some money, so we can buy some new stuff. Once I remember where the actual store here is. Let's see. Yeah, so there's the final tool for bait stuff, is the one that makes it easier to get fish eggs and small fish. You can also just buy recipes at the stores. This place also has the medium basket, which is a nice upgrade. I believe there's also an actual tackle shop somewhere in this area. Because basically, just in general, I'm going to want to use, like, probably at least one upgrade to my rod to get the trout. It makes it a little bit easier to catch. And the bait they prefer is small fish, so... Alright, well, since this bait's being a pain in the ass, we're going to run back. We're going to do some more in that area where we caught the yamame, because a lot of the fish there are decent size and sell for a decent amount. This mountain area also has an absolute nightmare quest, which involves catching like 6 black bass, which can take upwards of 2 to 3 hours to do. So anyways, since nothing really terribly new is going to be happening for a little while in the game, it's a good time to sort of chat. What's been going on? How are you guys handling the shelter-in-place orders?
Well, I've been doing what I always do. As it turns out, being an introverted loner doesn't really change much.
Fair enough.
I'm rough with the same bag. I mean, no, I'm sitting at home.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'm doing work whenever it comes in, but work comes in so infrequently that I've had time to work on projects, I've had time to catch up on series. I've been shopping around for a computer upgrade since Bograt got one, and my computer is very old. I also found out that NVIDIA has done one of the dumbest things I've seen a driver company do in a while.
Huh.
So, for like an hour and a half today, I was fighting around with my NVIDIA drivers. I have a G-Sync monitor. It's
Right.
capable of 144 hertz. But it requires the control panel software
Uh-huh.
to set that G-Sync and to control that, and especially to make programs that don't normally G-Sync play well with the G-Sync monitor. Now, the problem is that as of like patch 440 and above for NVIDIA drivers, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't install the control panel as part of the driver pack. It downloads it from the Windows Store if you're on Windows 10. Now, this wouldn't be a problem if all my stuff was on the same drive, but the only
Mm.
time I ever use Windows apps is when I download them from Game Pass for PC,
Right.
and that's on a separate SSD that's just for game storage. But you can't install the NVIDIA control panel unless your drive that you have designated as the app drive, quote unquote, which can't be changed easily, is also your system drive.
Okay.
So the way I solved this was I had Shiv copy his control panel from his program files menu and send it to me via Google Drive. And this worked.
It worked.
Okay.
So what I'm getting is
Interesting.
that the control panel will run from anywhere. It just won't install unless
Correct.
the
There's no
drives
longer a
match.
download for it from NVIDIA. You can
Hmm.
either use their GE Force Experience, which is too clunky and shitty for most cases.
Yeah.
Like,
Hmm.
or you can just keep around a copy of the control panel, because the control panel is agnostic. It doesn't care what cards you have, as long as it's an NVIDIA card.
Right.
From like the last 12 years or something. So as long as I keep around a copy of the control panel, I can just put it back on whenever.
Right. Yeah, Vorton, I saw you commenting earlier about that. I've been doing something kind of similar. I've talked about it a bit with the rest of the guys here. I'm slowly working on a class for Pathfinder, roughly based off of the Final Fantasy style Blue Mage. I haven't made a ton of progress on it just because it's kind of one of those things I need to find the inspiration to actually work on. I have to be in a place where I can stare at numbers and have them make sense, and that happens with infrequent occurrence now that my sleep schedule is all fucked up from being home all the time. But yeah, I've been working on that. It's fun to do that kind of design stuff. So if anyone was ever curious, this is pretty much what money grinding in River King looks like, is you just kind of get to a
Catch,
spot
fish,
you
and
know that
sell.
has, yeah, you get to a spot that you know has decently sized fish. Because that's one of the things too, is the amount that fish go for is mostly just based on their size.
Mm.
There are some rare exceptions to this for like very specific fish, but for the most part, it just looks at how big a fish is and goes, "Oh, this is like 13 inches. It will go for this amount of money." You can see over there, there's a really big boy. That is probably actually a big Iwana.
That Iwana is so big.
Just because we haven't gotten to any of the places yet that actually have the unique, really big fish. Most of the rest of them are just big versions of existing fish. I will say, as much as I talk about the actual fishing in the game being fairly easy, the bigger fish are harder. They tend to fight back more, basically, is just what it comes to.
Swim, 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 swim.
So we come to the crux of fishing.
Yep.
And I must go. My people need me.
Away!
So I think it's time to share the story of why my dad was incredibly disappointed with me that I would never be a fisherman. Okay, so when I was a wee young child, my father got it in his head that we were going to be like the father-son fishing people.
Okay.
That was going to be our thing, was fishing together. And he didn't spend like a ton of money on this. We got a basic rod. There was a place close by where you could catch fish pretty easy. It's old bait. But he took me out like twice for fishing. And the first time was just kind of us sitting there shooting the shit, and I brought my Game Boy, and we never really caught anything. And so the second time, and keep in mind, I was a young child, like I want to say I was like 7 or 8 when this happened. So I was sitting around kind of bored because I didn't bring the Game Boy this time, and we had exhausted any possible conversation topics we could at that point. And Dad was into it because he was the kind of guy who liked fishing, and I was just bored out of my fucking mind. So I found a fish that had washed up on the shore probably some time ago and had died. And so I grab this fish and I bring it to him and I go, Dad, I found a fish. We can go now. And for like a minute, we just stand there and I'm offering up this fish to this very tall man. And he looks at me and he looks at the fishing rods and he looks back to me and he says, Where'd you get that? I found it on the shore. And he looks at me and goes, That's not the point, Dad. And I said, Then what's the point? And he looked at the rods again and looked back at me and said, and I quote, Fuck it, we're going to McDonald's. This dream is over.
Did you at least get a filet of fish sandwich?
No. He did not.
Borden, what edition of D&D? Out of curiosity. I assume 5th, but
I wonder where the fish did go. A fish, a fish, a fishy. Oh.
Yeah, it seems no one nowadays is familiar with older editions of D&D. I think it's because they forgot it because it was a fever dream.
Depends on.
Especially second
Morton
edition.
may not know it, but because he's played Pathfinder before, he knows 3.5.
Granted,
Pretty much.
he knows effectively better 3.5.
Effectively.
But it is one of those things of you can take 3.5 stuff and use it in Pathfinder, no problem. Like Savage Species.
I mean, you can.
I don't see any balance problems here.
So I will say this much, since it was
No
mentioned in
balance
passing.
problems in Savage Species, clearly.
I did learn to play D&D with second ed. Like, that was my first edition of D&D.
Have seen the books in your house.
Yep, I've still got all my books for it and everything. I would not recommend playing second edition to anybody,
No, I never played second edition. First
But-
game actually was
but I can
3.0.
absolutely tell you, having that be essentially my first D&D experience has made it so that no matter how weird and complicated a given system seems to be, I can always just kind of point at second ed and go, "Thaco," and it's just like, yeah, no, yeah, we're good.
No, second ed is easily the most complicated and kind of stupid edition of D&D.
Yeah, it's this very interesting spot because like first edition D&D was still very grounded in its roots as like a tabletop war game, and so just involved a lot of abstraction and just straight up didn't have rules built for a lot of things. So it was just kind of like, hey, here's a very basic rules set, and if you want to do something that's not covered in this rule set, we don't know, figure it out.
Yeah, the bigger issue that one, or the biggest issue first edition has is everything is charts and tables, which second edition inherited anyways, instead of like simple enough formulas that make enough sense.
Yeah, and just in general, like second edition came around, it took, all those wargaming rules and then said, okay, and now we're going to build all these other systems for everything else, and they're all going to be equivalently complicated to these wargaming rules.
Yeah.
And also keep, frankly, some of the dumbest aspects of classic, classic D&D stuff for no real justifiable reason.
Very D&D existed way back in the day in the very infancy of modern game design, so cutting out clunk and elegant design were at best heard of rumors.
So it's not even so much that as it is there's a lot of aspects of first ed and obviously into second ed D&D that still exist again from those wargaming roots when it
Yeah.
was more designed when it was chainmail essentially when it was
Yeah.
designed as essentially a PvP game to provide aspects of balance. That's why things like only humans can be paladins and different races have different level limits for different classes exist, because those were balance measures for a versus game, which don't really make sense in a more
Once you're a
cooperative
party up.
like a more cooperative PvE game.
Yeah.
And Christ, don't get me started on the idiocy of druids in second edition.
I will be right back.
Yep.
In 2nd edition, 20th level druids are like Tarrasques.
There's
They
one
go
of
to
them.
sleep for like so many years.
No, there can only be one per world.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Each rank, actually, there's only a certain amount of them.
Yeah,
And
past
20th
like level
level-
13, I believe it is, for druids in 2nd edition, there's only a limited number of druids allowed in the entire world of that level. And so even if you have all the XP to level up, you can't do so until you have essentially gone to like the Council of Druids and been granted the place of one of those druids, which sometimes involves killing one of the people that already exists in that place. You know, like druids do.
Yeah. Balance. There can only be one.
That's balanced.
Well, if you kill all the Jedi and all the Sith,
Hey, it's as balanced as the Jedi's version of, and it can, no Sith, only Jedi.
Yep, kill all the Sith. That'll bring balance to the Force. That's not what balance means. Nope, balance. Only light. That's balance. Worked so well for Final Fantasy XIV. Certainly caused no problems at all.
What? Killing all the Sith?
No, only light.
Only light? Only light works fine as long as you
Uh huh.
don't like the night.
Uh huh. Works perfectly fine. It's not like there's literally an entire expansion focused around how this fucks up a world just as bad.
Well, you know.
Actually, in many ways, worse.
Yeah, as far as we know, worlds sold by darkness in 14 are just like destroyed.
Yeah.
We haven't seen a darkness destroyed world yet.
We've definitely seen a world completely ruled by light.
Yep.
It's not good.
is the bloom that world turned up to 500%?
Well, there's no night anymore.
Which is more of a problem than you'd think. And then also, all the other problems with that world because of the creatures of light that basically rule over it.
Yep.
Who, surprise, are basically all assholes.
Ah, fishing technique 2.
Yes, I got that with the last time I leveled up.
What does it actually do?
Uh, just minor improvements to certain things. It increases your chances of attracting particular fish. For the type of fishing I'm not doing just yet because it's a pain in the ass with lure fishing, it makes it a little bit easier to catch fish with lure fishing. And also increases, so when fish are actually fighting back, it basically gives you more of a chance to not snap a line. In other installments of this series, that particular stat would actually do things like there were certain fish you just couldn't catch if you didn't have enough fishing technique. Like they wouldn't even go for your bait. I actually prefer it more in this style where it is just straight up like there is no fish that with the correct equipment and bait I can't at least get on the line. Whether or not I can catch it is up to me. I prefer that. But okay, that's 280. What do I actually need for the carbon rod? I want to say it's 300. Yeah, 300
Yep.
for the carbon pole. That's basically all I'm really going for, is I want to get that.
Hmm.
Because technically speaking, I can catch great brown trout with just worms. It's much harder to do with the bamboo pole.
Hmm.
So probably just a couple more fish, actually, and I should be able to get that pole, and then we can move on to actually trying to catch the great brown trout.
Hmm.
No relation to the great fur baron trout.
I would like to point out that one of the other species of fish that exists in the mountain area is the albino brown trout.
But now
I
you're
mean,
just putting
That's not
words together.
inaccurate. It would be a brown trout that's albino.
So a brown trout that is not brown.
Yes, but I mean, if the species of trout is a brown trout, just because albino doesn't not a brown trout.
That's the thing, though, is that the actual species is the albino brown trout.
Can't help you there.
It is not like the case of the Iwana versus big Iwana, where it is actually the same species. It's just for the purposes of the game, they divide them for size classification. The albino brown trout, as far as I'm aware, is actually a separate species from the regular brown trout. Okay, so I feel like just those two should be enough. Possibly. We'll try it, and if it's not enough, then I'll just catch whatever fish right near the store, because it should be just a couple G short. Like, I should note, technically speaking, it is possible for me to go catch the great brown trout with the bamboo pole. It's just a colossal pain in the ass. It would take essentially a lot of tries, because it would probably take my hook most of the time. Oh yeah, hell, one of them was almost enough. Alright, to the tackle shop.
Carbon pole.
Yep.
Wow, that actually seems to one up albino brown trout.
Huh.
Huh.
Albino rainbow trout.
Yep. Alright, so now that I've got this carbon rod, we can try and see if I can't snag a great brown trout. So we will give that a try. Once I get the great brown trout that I need, as a note, it needs to be at least 31 inches in length to qualify for this quest. Once we wrap that up, that'll probably be the end of the stream for today. I'm getting hungry and my voice is starting to go on me, so. Also, I can't begin to guess how long it might take to actually catch this great brown trout.
Some say 5 years later he was still attempting to catch that trout.
Cuts to the next family in the line. Sound trudges in, defeated. He's never been able to catch the brown trout, let alone the River King.
Okay. So, the great brown trout is generally found sort of over in this area here. There's what I'm talking about dropping it too close to the fish and causing it to run off.
Mm.
Can't just drop it in front of me. You gotta tease me. Ugh.
And you can also see swimming across that whole like lake area to get over to this side. Barely took any HP.
Yeah. Yep, that's a big fish.
Yeah, that is certainly the type we're looking for. Now, as to whether or not it is... Actually, I don't know if that is the brown trout. Coloration
Yeah.
seems a little off. Yeah, no, that is great brown trout, and that is absolutely big enough.
Woo!
Yay.
It turned out to be of almost no consequence. Eh?
What about it?
Keep walking. Don't make eye contact. Don't want no part of that.
There's certainly not a reason I chose to go the long way around the lake here to get back to where I turn in the great brown trout.
Of course not. That's just a Loch Ness monster. He's been there.
Oh, right.
Cannot go past.
Right, can't get past Benkei.
I mean, you can swim past him.
Yep. I just can't take that bridge until I deal with Benkei, basically.
That seems like a very minor inconvenience when you can just swim to the other side.
It is absolutely faster to take the bridge. Especially because a lot of this area is not somewhere I can actually just walk up.
I'm sorry, Goblin family. We fished up Little Sound from the lake a few days ago. Oh, a few hours ago. He tried to swim across the lake, but he had only just learned how to swim. Got very bad directions, too.
I don't know what you're talking about. My swimming technique just increased my last level. I swim faster now. I mean, again, you can see I've been swimming all this time. I've gone down like 20 HP.
Yep.
HP really is kind of more of an afterthought in this game. Also, I think I just realized I can just talk to her. So,
Bye! Whee! Oh, she doesn't walking animation.
she
Yeah.
does. It's just she takes incredibly long steps. I think she's got Heelys on.
Well, you can tell by the way I use my walk.
Her heel is on. No time to walk.
Okay, so our reward for doing that was A, we got a deluxe lunch,
Oh,
which just restores HP. That's just what food does.
melted her mouth.
And also, that was the first checkpoint quest for the mountain area.
Checkpoint quest.
Yeah, so basically, like similar to like the rival battle with Naoko in the stream, or like the getting the fish for the wood spirit. There are certain errands you have to do in an area before you can actually advance to the next area. So we could not actually continue through the mountain until we did that quest. We are actually required to do that. I believe in general for all of the areas, the rival quest is actually necessary to do as part of progressing to the next area. But at the there are certain errands that you have to specifically do in each area in order to advance to the next area. There are optional other errands you can do, but there are some ones that you have to do.
Does each family member have a different rival?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm pretty sure it's always Naoko.
Okay.
I don't know because it's been a very long time since the last time I played this game, and I usually play as either the brother or the father, so I know those two at least still deal with Naoko.
Naoko, I'm an old man. I can't be rivals with anyone other than my wife.
I challenge you to fishing. Fine.
Anyways, I think we're gonna go ahead and call it there for the day.
Yep.
Moving forward, I'll hopefully be able to stream a little bit longer with these, get a little bit more done. But like I said, I'm getting hungry, so I want to go make some food and whatnot. Thank you all for joining us. I think I'll keep doing this at least for the next couple weeks while we kind of figure out something we want to do for the next big Saturday stream. It's chill enough. It gives us some opportunity to talk about stuff, and it lets me show off one of my favorite games. So, yeah, we'll keep going with this. But again, thank you all for joining us. I've been Bograt or Josh.
I've been Shiv.
Krampus.
And I'm Vincent.
Have a good one, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Yep. Bye.